I want to start by welcoming everyone to our VWEC Metaverse Expert Series. We're glad to see you and have you join us for today's very interesting presentation and discussion. At the end of the session, everyone is also invited to an extended chat with our speakers at the other end of the deck for an informal conversation and Q&A after the presentation. For those of you who are new, our website is at the address in chat. You can find VWEC on many social media channels at the address you'll see in chat. We are pleased to offer our expert series presentations in both text and chat. Text for anyone who may not be using voice is shared on our YouTube live stream. And you can get that at the sign, or live stream should be at that address. Speaking of signs, if you're new here, we would like to know how you found out about us. Our survey plant has just a quick survey that is a great help to us. If you would please fill it out. It's over there on the right side of the stage. And feel free to send along any comments that you have. We would like to thank you all for joining us today. Today we have several leaders from Nonprofit Commons who will talk about what makes the community flourish. These leaders have helped to shape some of the most enduring and impactful communities in virtual worlds. With us today are Rhiannon Chatnoir, or Joyce Betancourt, designer, technologist, and organizer, focused on the convergence of creativity, community, social good, and the future, founder of metaverse-focused nonprofit avicon.org and vesuviusgroup.com virtual world/XR Dev Studio, community leader and host of the Nonprofit Commons weekly meeting. Next to her is Zinnia Zauber, Renee Brock, artist, instructor, superhero, advocate for awesomeness, encouraging and empowering active, inclusive education and community participation in the arts and sciences. Co-chair of NPC Board, VWEC founder and board of Peninsula College. And finally, we have Lear Lobo, Cynthia Colon, professor emerita at Colorado Technical University, where she teaches doctoral classes in AI and business intelligence. For Parker University, she teaches computer science. She conducts research at Virtual Harmony, serves as the NPC Education co-chair, is on the board and Ohana for TCC Hawaii, and is an OSCC speaker wrangler. She was also Dr. Barbara Truman's research mentor, whose research findings she is sharing today. So without any further delay, I will turn it over to Rhiannon to get things started.
Thank you. So hello, everybody. For some of you, this is the second time I'm seeing you today. So if you were at the Nonprofit Commons meeting earlier. So we shared a bit about my bio. I have been, if you look at my profile, you can see that, but I've been in Second Life since January 2005. So I am going to share, and I'm going to paste in here too as I go. So I am going to briefly talk about the communities in Second Life and the broader organizing of users within the SL, and some of the events that I've and communities I've been part of. So Second Life Community Conference, Nonprofit Commons, Open Simulator Conference, there's lots. But I'm not going to go too deep because I'm hoping that I'm just the starting point for others to jump from. So, this what I just put in chat, to me at least, community is what makes Second Life and other virtual worlds, but especially, is what makes it sticky. So we may come to build or explore or to role play or whatever, but it's that community piece that really makes us stay. It certainly is what has kept me here in Second Life for these 21 plus years, and has become the focus of much of my work in and out of the virtual worlds. So thank you, Ellie. I'm going to kind of start with a little bit mentioning Avicon, and Avicon is kind of interconnects with the things that I'm going to bring up today in that regard. So I'm a co-founder of it, and it is a 501c3 org in the US. And the elevator pitch version of Avicon's mission revolves solely or greatly around community. And it's this concept of building community in the metaverse, and then of course that includes here, and building the metaverse community from there, and then and which then in general builds up the space itself, builds the metaverse. So and there's a much longer version of that you can read on the website, of course, that gets into what that entails. But it really revolves all around these virtual spaces and community. And we've done this we've done this by organizing community events and supporting communities of practice and users in these virtual worlds. And I'm going to bring up a couple things and walk through some of the things that I said. So first thing I wanted to bring up, from 2005 to 2011, and there's a lot of community stuff that obviously comes before this that we can, but there was an event called the Second Life Community Conference, and it was a hybrid event, so it took place yearly between 2005 and 11, as I said, and each year was a different city, and also in Second Life at the same time. So we brought together numerous swaths of the Second Life community, which included education, business, those who might be here for social or role play, interested in fashion or machinima or music or art, creating content, and so much more. And people would come together and both present and go to events similar to like what we all do here in Second Life, but in person, and then also streaming back and forth. So, and they'd share best practices and showcase others' creativity and discuss relevant tech and topics, and of course, as I said, socializing. And I wanted to bring this up because I think this is it's always sort of stuck with me. And this came out of the 2007 Second Life Community Convention. And these were weekend-long events. People would come in on a Friday, presentations would start, and go through all of Saturday with events in the evening, and then go into the next day with presentations and people's goodbyes and such. And at the peak of them, we had 800 people in person, and that was this particular year in 2007 in Chicago. And again, an audience that was virtual that we were streaming with, and in a couple of regions in Second Life, and even some mixed reality presentations. That's fantastic. We kind of hopped around San Francisco, Chicago, Tampa, Boston, Oakland, various, kind of other things, but a lot of big cities through those years. So, but this in the 2007 Second Life Community Convention, there was the education track that year was sponsored by the MacArthur Foundation, along with Global Kids, the New York City nonprofit education-focused nonprofit that I was by then working for. The keynote for the education track was Dr. Connie Yowell, and I encourage you to look into her. And she was the then MacArthur Foundation Educational Director. And of course, she kicked things off and gave the keynote that particular year. And this line here, and I gave a link too if you want to read back to Rick Riel in Second Life's blog post on it. But the quote that that stuck with me this whole time was like Second Life has the killer app, which is community. And that to me has always rung true, right? That no matter, we may think of all the things that have, and certainly there are other things that are important, like collaborative building and the ability to experience things a certain way. But that community aspect, which is something that kind of came up earlier today's Nonprofit Commons meeting, instead of platforms that feel a little bit more isolationary, like virtual reality is almost a whole, we here are here together, and then kind of congregate, find our people, and then stick around, and that community is what's really the important thing. I'll also add as a little bonus, you can look at it later. It's over 100 pages, so certainly something to like bookmark and look later at. But this is actually that particular education track's conference proceedings, and it gives you a kind of some insight and spotlight into what the space was thinking about and looking at. And it also included, of course, the many nonprofits like Global Kids and others who were also doing other work and educational programs within there. So, and it also focused the sort of the theme of the entirety of that track was about community, creating informational learning communities in Second Life. So it's relevant to kind of today too. So certainly lots to look at there and explore that after. So another thing that Avocon has also done, and this kind of takes us a little bit outside of Second Life, but if many of you might be familiar with Open Simulator, it's the open source. It's an open source platform, very similar to Second Life in a lot of ways, but with the ability to run your own servers, import content, export content, have a hypergrid. Has hypergrid technology built into it, so you can still go between one space and another, but yet and still have marketplaces, still bring your things with you, all that good stuff. So Avocon, after Avocon, similar to in some ways like what we'll hear about at NPC later, there was Second Life community conferences. Avocon kind of came in the last couple of years, picked up those conferences and hosted those last couple. And then from all that work, and myself, I've attended everyone and volunteered at least all of them, but the first one. So, and then from all the work that Avocon kind of put into the Second Life community conventions and sort of seeing the need for it, also in bringing community together in other platforms that many of us as users were also exploring, like Open Simulator. We started to we decided let's have an event there. Let's bring together community. So that's what the birth was, along with planning it with the core developers that were creating the technology itself. So we were hoping to, on the Avocon side of things, our goal was really that bridging the gap between the open source developers and the greater user community, and those we have been doing yearly since 2013. So, and in some ways, very, like I said, very similar to goals of the Second Life Community Convention, but included and collaborating with, like I said, with the developer tech group itself that created Open Simulator. So though at the Second Life Community Conventions, the Lindens would come, and I think it was good for them to see what users were doing, and so we probably had some impact there. But this was a much more direct way, similar but more direct, to be able to actually bring both groups of users and developers together and help sort of maybe move that platform forward in that way. So and that's the Avocon playlist. You'll get to see lots of things in there. A good majority of it is the stuff that was streamed at through the various OSCCs. But it allowed us to sort of also kind of come in and bring together those groups to help sort of problem solve things, to help sort of see, again, developers be able to see this is how people are really using this. These are how various communities are. And sorry, my parrot is very excited in the other room. So it continues on. So and I won't go too much more into that. And what I really kind of wanted to sort of kind of end with about is the nonprofit commons stuff. And as I said, we met earlier today. And NPC is a community of nonprofits, educators, librarians, support groups, and others interested in social good and serious use cases of Second Life. For those of you who may not have heard this origin story before, in brief, Susan Tenby, Glitteractica Cookie, then the community manager at the nonprofit TechSoup.org, which many of you might know if you're a nonprofit and buy your software discounted, and who she is now director of global community there. She is the person who founded it and started the weekly meetings that still continue to this day. And then by 2017, TechSoup was kind of moving away, which is from the virtual environment programs. And we kind of stepped in, Avicon and the community together, to transition to being both fiscally and tech sponsored by Avicon, with a community-led board of nonprofit, made up of nonprofit commons members, of which both Lear and Zinnia here are on the board. So, and I'll just share a little timeline with you guys that you can look at later. Again, sort of the history. NPC also has this mission that is very community driven. Besides being community led, it provides space to meet and network. It creates cooperative learning environment, and fosters outreach, education, fundraising, all in the virtual environment. And that's our mission in a nutshell. NPC also is made up of many nonprofit organizations. Also, as I brought up too, also beyond that too, as I said, arts orgs and individual supporters of social good causes come to it, educators, librarians, all that good stuff, and from around the world. And then those are the board communities that we have. So in addition to the board itself, we also have these focuses on education and interaction and experience to nurture learning and socialize and support the needs of our virtual world community and beyond. At those meetings, which they provide workshops, tours, support networking with a vision of future growth. And this is kind of this sort of almost like a short list of some of our, I think, community building, kind of our own sort of special sauce, that the things that we have found important to the strength and impact of the nonprofit commons community. And I'm sure, again, Zinnia probably has much more about this, that this whole concept of a shared focus and growth, the overarching direction and focus of the people who care about topics like social good and learning. Though our members are diverse, that common overlap of why we come together matters and unites us. Through that too, we also cultivate a nurturing space that encourages peer learning and allows community members to connect and grow together. We can, any one of us can go out as a scout, bring back a topic, teach it to the others, share what we're working on, and kind of grow from there. We have very much this kind of giving back as part of it too. So we offer up resources, free office space, learning opportunities, useful tools that members have developed, mentoring for NPC members there if they need help. We also encourage people to share what they're working on and other things, and other things that others in the community can take advantage of. And the other kind of thing that we've also discovered over time and that we're very good at is that consistency matters. And like I said, these meetings have been happening now for we're our 18th or 19th year that we'll be coming up on for these events. And so these weekly meetings in Second Life since 2006, I'm sure somebody will weigh in. Every week, 25 to 35 people. Sometimes we squish a little more in on average that are coming together and including that with regular networking events like Common Ground and exploration tours. And then I'm going to put this in here, even though I've said it already. Zinnia will dive deeper into that. And then I just kind of want to end it to, the call that, of course, if you aren't already, that we hope you can join us all at MPC for our Friday educational meetings and tours. The information is there in chat. And also, we'd like this whole peer learning part of things is very important. We'd love for you to come and present and share or tour us on something. So, and the link for that is in there. And then these are some other ways to kind of connect to us. But, at the core of all of this, and even I think at the core of my individual experience, has always been community. So afterwards, during discussion, if you guys want to dive deeper into any of this or anything, just we'll have a lot more time for any of those kind of things. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Zinnia, and thank you.
Thank you, Reeve. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So I thought I would focus on recommendations because I can do my favorite thing, point and tell people what to do. In my experience, communities are built through immersive activities, cohesion, and color. Initiated in 26, I produced our local art walk. And to create inclusion between the venues, the artists, and the audience, everyone is encouraged to participate in the Art Walk's monthly color theme. It's a fun community activity to be expressed in any creative form they wish. So January is silver, February is red, March is green, April is pink, May is aqua, June is white, July is purple, August is yellow, September is blue, October is orange, November is brown, and December is gold. Even local businesses decorate their windows with the upcoming color theme. Sound familiar? In August of 28, the first Common Ground networking party was hosted by Etherred and myself, Zinnia, at the nonprofit Commons Flush. We had a wonderful team. We've had a wonderful team at the nonprofit Commons that have helped produce the party every month for years. Throwing an inclusive community party is a learning by doing and dancing. So for nearly 18 years, the color theme Common Ground Networking Party in Second Life has brought people together while fostering learning opportunities in how to design and produce immersive engagement. Have you attended? Develop to teach innovative skills and celebrate what we accomplish cooperatively with nonprofits, educators, students, humanitarians, scientists, artists, and supporters. It provides lasting lessons in meaningful connections. Social networking communicates social causes and initiates action for positive social change. And as an action-packed superhero, we got to do it that way. Imaginative events and social networking validate Second Life's power to connect people, create cooperative support, and encourage participation, promotion, and positive results. So how do we do that effectively? We dance. So dance is to develop active networking community events. And what you'll see in my slides is a combination of people attending the First Friday Art Walk in Sequim and the theme colors that happen there, as well as the theme colors that happen here in Second Life. People enter Second Life to experience immersive environments with a sense of community, cooperation, connections, cohesiveness, and collaboration. Events are an effective way to connect with new audiences, promote diverse organizations' missions, and encourage participation and support, including hearing, to listening, to sharing, to doing, and more dancing. Encouragement creates a cooperative community of responsibility, collaboration, and enthusiasm. You know my motto, enthusiasm over perfection. Sorry, my phone went off there. By getting to know the people who create the common good in our world, we all meet on common ground. When we get started having different communities, we had different communities host each month. And let's look at how an event-based education and inclusion can be persuasive to students and volunteers to learn together by producing a challenging project. How many of you have had an opportunity to host or attend a common ground networking party? Excellent, Rosie. Thank you. Charlotte. Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Oh, wonderful. Fantastic. And did you all decorate with balloons? So you got some building skills in, right? Did you help market the event? So you got some marketing and branding skills built up there. Ah, yes, and dressing in the color. You became part of the event as well. At the art walk, I always express that the people wandering around in the colors is part of my artwork. So thank you guys for actively participating, and I bet you learned new skills along the way. Oh, stranger wins, hands down, for the best outfits. And yes, so absolutely, you gotta have the right color for your birthday. Perfect. So Common Ground has also included progressive parties that have jumped from community partner to community partner just in a few hours. Whoa, that was pretty crazy. And we all learned how to make HUDs in that process too. A lot of work, a lot of fun. So inclusive agency provides control over one's learning and allows everyone to be part of a greater whole while defining their differences. So choosing, the right color and the right month for your organization has been important. Community partnerships help create cohesive and unity, right? We like that cohesion, that sticky part, as Ree said. Demonstrating that you can play well with others builds a powerful force of attraction. This brings more interested folks who will benefit from your work and will assist you along the way. I love to build learning system and event themes. Do you like the flash mob dancers here? They practiced all year so that they could do this and specifically chose August, which was yellow. We do that similar thing, right? When we're dancing together at our parties. We feel connected and we're in unison. Yet we all are unique along the way. So let's talk about some of these learning systems that we engage with. So research. So you get to use your brain. When you have a required theme and style guide to limit chaos, you provide focus to investigate the meaning and the mission of a group. So how many of you guys have scratched your head wondering about some of the themes I've come up for parties? Well, quite often, especially if it's one of our anniversary parties for the Nonprofit Commons, the number actually helps dictate the theme. There is a reason that they use that color or a symbol. So find out why and ask questions. This is a great way for you to be able to talk to strangers and inquire. Oh, yay, Tori, you're an expert at it. So making connections between the icons and settings all comes together, like our favorite DJ, Tori, who customizes our playlists and treats. collaborative learning. So working with others expands our students and volunteers and community members' perspectives, right? Right. Compassion comes from exposing care and passion. When we are vulnerable and share our truths, it welcomes understanding, deeper learning, and empathy. That's what's so beautiful about doing events with our community partners. We learn more about what they are fighting for and supporting. Activity. Build and curate. All virtual skills are embraced by event-based learning opportunities with a firm deadline. Oh boy, gotta have a deadline. Challenging yourself to produce something awe-inspiring is the reward, and we learn from doing and dancing. We also learn what others love to do and thrive in by building stronger teams by defining their superpowers for future awesomeness. Publicize. So we learn how to write and deliver press releases, social media posts, and promotions by doing in-world events or out. How many of you guys have gotten better at your writing skills to persuade people to join us in world? Yes, got to have those deadlines. And our consistency has helped with that, don't you think? So enticing an audience means letting them know what they will gain by attending. Another point is achieving equity. So to advocate for community events that connect and celebrate expression and diversity. And we have a lot of that. Your heart is showing when you provide opportunities to celebrate inclusion and knowledge. So you can see on my picture here, we've got lots of love, and we love throwing down our group hug. Thank you, Buffy, for always throwing that down at the end of events so we can try to break our record of how many avatars can have a group hug. So I put in purple themed dressed people. That's this month in celebration of your birthday, and in our area in Squim, our Squim Lavender weekend. And you can see how much people love to be able to dress up and enjoy our themes. So we always express how working together in a virtual world places us on a level playing field to learn and seek new understanding of others. Reflection is required for improvement and enhancement. So we follow up with an opportunity to talk it out or hug it out. And we want to do that while it's fresh and get feedback from all sides. We grow and keep growing when we reflect and affect the next event. This is part of design learning, that cycle of iterative improvement. Dimensional experiences activate more places in our brain and bloom better plans for the future. One of my favorite things to do in Second Life is building exhibitions with information, art, and engagement for all. How many of you guys have been building exhibits? That could be for conferences, that could be for the Second Life birthday. Yeah. And don't you love how cohesive and engaging they are? That was one of my first volunteer experiences at the Nonprofit Commons, was building their exhibit at a Second Life birthday celebration. You might still have one of my space helmets. Delightful sharing experience provides meaningful engagement, memories that persist, and friendships that last. Providing opportunities for people to truly feel like they are the architects of their community, we need to give them activities and means to contribute. Just showing up in the color theme or a fun topic is a start. So thank you guys for dressing up in the color themes. And they will build up communities when they are actively able to shine. The future of virtual worlds will connect people like no other medium through networking and cooperative support, generating common good with common goals and meeting on common ground. Let's do community building through event-based education and inclusion together. Thank you very much. Now it is Lear's turn to share her wonderful research.
Thank you, Zinnia. And I have something to share with everyone. Let's see. You know me, I'm a visual kinesthetic, right? And I have to be able to see it, say it, etc. Let's see, I just clicked something and of course it all disappeared. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to share a note card first. And I'm just going to share it with everyone. So if you don't want it, it's what I'm going to be talking about. You can ignore it. Yeah, let's see, here we go. And thank you for inviting me to share today. It sure is delightful. Here, I'll go ahead and forward my slides. These are amazing slides, by the way, Zinnia. I love all the photos and the memories. So, you know, when I was invited to speak, and you can see the note card, I will paste it in, but you know how it is. I don't read. um, all I could think of was Barbara's research on being vested in community and what community mattered, why it matters, what it means, right? I was her research mentor, and many of you know that I met her at Game Tech when we won the $25,000 for the Mars expedition. And she left her doctoral program after taking all of her classes. And by the way, here's the link to these slides. And she came and joined us, and she fell in love with Second Life and virtual worlds and education within them. And so much so, and Buffy, you may remember the New Media Consortium, which brought us in here in 2005 and 2006 from different conference events. He introduced me to her just as soon as we won that award. That's what was so amazing for me. And so she had a dream about transdisciplinarity, and her dream was to define these two terms that you see on screen: virtual physioception and virtual intersubjective presencing. Now, she didn't start there. My research group provided those terms for her, and one of them we created. I can't remember which one. You know, the other one was relatively new. And so, of course, she was passionate about what the magic that happens when you bring people together in a community and what they accomplish. Now, please feel welcome to type in the local text chat and tell me what you're thinking as we go through this. We only have 3 slides. So virtual physioception, I typed these out while we were sitting here because I know some of you are visual kinesthetics too, and you like to see it and say it and hear it, right? So during her quest, you know, Andy provided the terminology, Andy Stricker from my research group at Virtual Harmony. And, you know, I want to thank once again the Virtual Worlds Education Consortium for inviting us to speak here today on this, because I'm really passionate about this subject. Why do we teach in these worlds? Well, if you think about your body, that's the left side. The virtual physioception, how you represent yourself, your avatar, your gestures, your colors, how you sit, your animations, etc. This notion of embodiment, self-actualization. Now, we remember that from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we're going to see that in just a moment. And then, of course, the notion of empowerment. Being in these communities empowers us. That's what it's all about. It's not just about we show up, although that's wonderful, but when we show up, how does it transform us? You know, we noticed that in Tom's video, our avatar ourselves, you know, the fact that people are empowered regardless of any of their abilities to do amazing things. And this openness and reflective shiftability, this ability to move between groups and to take the good parts with us and cross-pollinate them is just amazing. Meanwhile, we have virtual intersubjective presencing. And of course, I'm forgetting to copy and paste it in, right? Yep. And that is all about how you interact in the world, how you share, things you touch, things you create, how it transforms others through the classes you offer, how you help others to be empowered and also continue that through inclusive, through shared vision, through co-creating, through adaptability, to initiate dialogue. And I don't just mean talking, I mean generative listening and open heart conversations that really matter. And then this cultivating a culture that will transcend us, that will live beyond our moments here. Many of us have been here 20 years or more. I know I have, and I'd like to think that after I'm gone, these worlds will persist, the magic from them will persist. So we have these shared themes. We have a commitment to community. We have the acceptance and respect of each other. We have an aspiration. We have a dream. There's a reason we're here to promote education in virtual worlds. And we have trust that's strengths-based. Now, strengths-based for us is the values and action survey. I don't know if you've ever taken it, but if you haven't, it's a wonderful survey. And of course, Lysenna has direct feedback. She's worked with one or more of the researchers who created it. And what's amazing about it is it reminds you of why you matter, what you accomplish, and how you work well with others. And in our group, we all took it, and then we did a team-based version that we created where we had we rated each other, and we watched the pillars rise among our bodies as we would click on it, and we would get this tremendous feeling of growth and shared commitment, and we'd give strength to each other as well as to ourselves. Now, what shocked me about that instrument is my number one strength was teamwork. And I would not have said that because during my doctoral program, I ran over my teams. You know, we must get an A. So I would do an amazing amount of work, right? I designed expert systems and, my version of artificial intelligence products, to accomplish great things. I listened to my teams, but I had no patience for failure. And of course, I had to learn that it's okay to discover, over time. Well, we're almost at the end of my part in case you're planning your weekend activities. And, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is on the left, and we're familiar with that. There's some little summaries there, but I promised to talk about self-actualization because Barbara's model is on the right. And you were the source, many of you were the source of some of this data. I'm not going to disclose the participants by any means, but she contacted groups throughout Second Life, throughout World of Warcraft, throughout all kinds of military groups that were also in virtual worlds and many different groups. She had wonderful participation. And her instrument, I tested it. It took me 2 hours to answer it. That is how in-depth it was. And of course, she was aiming for transdisciplinarity, which is the intersection of all topics. It goes beyond interdisciplinary, which is our US version of it, because it thinks about the richness of what might we accomplish when we bring people together in these spaces. And of course, her goal extended beyond a cure for cancer. And of course, many of you know that we lost her in 2021. But she was powerful and deeply rooted in transformed social interaction, the social presence that we have today, the self-presence. And I don't remember what I've copied and pasted, so I'll do it again, right? Whoops. Here we go. And so as we think about self-actualization, what does that mean to us? I'd like you to tell me, because the best shared moments really come from you. They don't just come from us, do they? And so today, as we think about community and start to wrap up this amazing fair, what does community and self-actualization mean to you? And I'll paste the slides again for anyone who missed them. And I want to thank everyone for celebrating community with us. Thanks.
Wow, thank you, everybody. This was an amazing presentation. It was really good to hear from all of you, and just kind of brings together the idea of what community really is. I think I still am thinking about what Rhiannon said at the beginning, that quote she said from somebody, that SL's killer app is community. That's really what makes it so special. So hopefully that will be something we can all continue to strive for. Okay, I guess I can open it up. Well, we are getting close to the end. We've got about 10 minutes before we really absolutely have to close it up. So if anybody has anything they want to ask right now before we move to the back, I'll give you a chance to do that.
I would be curious about people's reaction to what I wrote in the chat.
You know, Marley, I was trying to watch the chat, but I might have missed it. Why don't you repeat it for us?
I'm going to say it aloud. Doing stuff together is great, and I've done a lot of that. But I believe that to really strengthen community, it is important to spend one-on-one time with your collaborators or community mates. Loving an abstract community is not a great end game, in my humble opinion. Knowing the possibilities for different people to collaborate, to actually become friends by knowing more than just the information about the project at hand, that leads to many more possibilities for strengthening community and for networking. I like bringing people together for these possibilities. And another benefit is raising self-reflection as we get to know each other.
I think certainly over time, right? Like some of that, when you look at something like Nonprofit Commons, that person-to-person connection has deepened and over time for many of us, right? Like somebody walking in as a new person to the group may, as you said, like it may take a bit before they feel that, but there's a lot more individual both interactions and collaborations that kind of grow from that, you know. I think about, you know, I think of even just like, say, the folks like Zinnia and Lear on here with me, right? Like with Lear, like to bring up Lear as an example, like the collaborations that just through the interactions that might have started within a group, like Lear and I initially knew each other through a more social light role play themed community called Elf Circle, right? This love of like fantasy and that sort of things that really we came across each other through initially. And we, to your point, we were part of this larger things. It was fun, all that other stuff. But over time, those interactions, like now, you know, I think about how the stuff that happens behind the scenes, what we do for NPC and how we're collaborating together all the time. There's a discussion between her and I that are open up at the back that none of you ever see, right? That like weighs in on all these things and other things in life through that conversation. The same thing with when we're organizing as co-chair leads for OSCC. And many of that happens like, you know, when we kind of engage deeper in our communities. And I think then the challenge means for a community, at least, if you are part of it, that there is this, that there should be encouraged that anybody can be involved, right? We try to do that at NPC a lot, that like there are no gatekeepers here, you know, and we've done events too where we've broken people up into pairs or other things where they can get a chance to kind of also speak up. Maybe that could happen, of course, a whole lot more or regularly enough for new people when they come in to get that experience, make sure they get that too. but it does come in over time, you know. And many of us, I would say, the Second Life community conventions, taking that as an example, those were in person, right? And I'm sure you've seen this too, Marley. The most amazing thing to ever see, and many of you have been to conferences together, like Leah brought up things. Zinnia and I did not meet for the first time until she went to a Second Life community convention in San Francisco, but we already knew each other. Like what was left was to kind of be able to actually be in presence and hug each other and experience something in a person, in a physical way, right? And that thing is amazing. I mean, and that story was told, that sort of process and story was told to me over and over again when we would have those in-person events, that they had already knew the person, but then they get to actually meet them. It was like meeting a long lost friend in that way, or reconnecting with somebody you knew. So over time, it definitely happens, you know. I guess the rub is how quickly can we bring somebody in enough and make somebody comfortable to orient them to get to be in that space where they see that they can collaborate.
Thank you. And that goes right into what Buffy had asked. So here's her question. What is the biggest challenge to keeping a community vital and thriving here? I think this is a fantastic, yes, Marley, we both got to visit you guys at the same time. And, you know, I think just what you mentioned, Ree, that idea of like, you know, when someone comes in, how do we hook them quickly? You know, most of us probably have been hooked by Buffy, who is the best mentor out there, right? And to automatically feel like you're part of the community. Yeah. And, talk about relationships. Buffy is going to be my bestie at my wedding. And we had only just met in person last year, was it? So we're such good friends here that it is meaningful to me that she will be there for me. And, yes, you got to wear the wings. I keep telling everyone you're wearing the wings. But, you know, how do we keep things vital is how do we stay curious about the people around us? Like, we need to keep asking questions. We need to find out what they're passionate about them and give them those opportunities to showcase and share what they're interested in. And I think, the more opportunities we give people, the more people will feel like they're part of a community anyway. And as far as that continual, that challenge, as you're saying, to keep thriving, well, what we've already seen in our communities of communities is that we keep growing and we keep, becoming spheres of influence on each other. There is overlap between so many of our communities that we get so excited that we're like, oh, I can share that here, and then I can share that here, and I can share that there. But then we also learn how we can be adaptable to the communities that we thrive in by adjusting and supporting those around us. And so I think it's a continual, let me show off, but let me share you and have you have a chance to show off. Yes, being adaptable. Absolutely. Yes, Danny, that total idea of being layered. And that's something that I think a lot of people are surprised. When you have a conversation with someone and you explain all the different things that you do in world and out, people are like, oh my God, like, how do you sleep? Do you have friends? I'm like, oh my God, let me tell you how many friends I have. And, that we really do keep growing and growing. And we're so glad that you guys are part of that experience with us.
Any other final thoughts, Leah, on your part, or any other final questions? I will say to that challenge idea, I have heard from, because I've done community organization and event organizing and management stuff. We had a lot of physical events, like in-person only things as well. And when I was when working with TechSoup on say some of their community things, one of their other community organizers that used to organize the around the globe meetups that would happen around nonprofit technology. We had him in to come speak at Nonprofit Commons, and he was amazed. His biggest thing was amazed, not only that we're meeting, but that idea that we were thriving through the years, year in and year out, and that the people, and not only that we were getting a consistent amount of people, right? But that through the ebb and flow, that we had folks that had been a long time coming to that community for years, and that's a harder thing to do in physical environments. Things change a lot more that make it hard for people to do that, or they move, or they, real life world things happen. But that connection point is still important to us. That for the last 18 years. Here we are at 8:30 in the morning Pacific every Friday,
Yeah, I just was thanking everybody for attending today. And just as a reminder, you'll be able to find the recording of today's session on the VWEC YouTube channel. And I posted a link in there. I'll repeat it up there. If you'd like a copy of today's slides, you can get them on the board on the side of the deck. Look for the sign for this presentation. VWEC is pleased to invite you to go check out the many communities represented at our community fair, part of this year's Summer of Community, which opened on May 30th and will be going on until August 15th. There are a total of 42 communities and 5 vendors represented at the fair, so do make time to walk around and check out as much as you can. I'd also like to mention that VWEC has an exhibit at this year's SL birthday celebration, SL23B, and there's a sign to the left of the stage you can click on to teleport there later. One other thing, I'd like to pass out a note card to everybody to vote on a proposal to add education and charity search to Second Life search. And send. Okay. And to continue the community theme, our next expert series will be featuring Delia Lake, or Linda Morris Kelly, who will talk about enhancing learning by using avatars and extended immersive experiences to complement learning gained from traditional tests and other media. This will be on July 10th at 1 p.m. SLT. To see all VWEC events, please click on the events calendar listed in chat. And that's our YouTube channel. And join us on social media at the link tree. And there's some other links you might check. And we are on Discord in the Second Life server. Use the #education. Please know that we always welcome new volunteers to help VWEC, which is open to anyone interested in teaching and learning in virtual worlds. If you're interested in volunteering, please contact the librarian Greg, Ellie Pinion, or Sumin Magic. Finally, please join us for today's happy hour at the other end of the deck for an informal conversation Q&A. And I'll walk over there. Thank you again for everything.